I left my wife after years of public humiliation. My name is Jason. I am 42 years old and was married to Sally for 10 years. We do not have children. I am sterile. We divorced a year ago, and I am writing this to give perspective on how I handled the situation and perhaps offer some inspiration or guidance to others in a similar position, if it can help anyone. The first 7 years were completely normal. Good, actually. We had a life that looked like most people's. We went to dinners, saw friends, traveled occasionally. Sally was funny, and we laughed a lot together. I felt secure in the relationship in a way I never had before. But during the last 3 years, Sally developed a behavior that systematically broke me down. It started subtly, something I initially thought was harmless teasing. A joke here and there about me not being very good at cooking, or about me not understanding something that was supposedly obvious. I laughed along because I thought that was all it was, jokes. But it escalated. She began belittling me in front of her social circle, always joking about me being inferior, unintelligent, or incompetent. She joked about me having a small penis and being bad in bed. She joked about needing to find a stallion on the side, but only when we were around other people. When we were alone, she was completely normal, as if nothing had happened. That part confused me the most. At home, she could be affectionate, ask how my day had been, cook dinner, and sit next to me on the couch as if everything was normal. But the moment we were out with friends, she turned into someone else. The first time she joked about my size was at a dinner with 4 other couples. We had been drinking some wine, and someone made a sexual joke. I don't remember exactly what. Sally laughed and then said something along the lines of not having much to work with, gesturing toward me. Everyone laughed nervously, and I tried to smile along, but I felt something tighten in my chest. On the way home, I asked why she had said that. She told me it was just a joke and that I shouldn't take it so seriously. She said everyone knew it wasn't true, and that was exactly why it was funny. I let it go, but it continued. The next time it was something about me not understanding how to do something practical, that I was hopeless with tools. The time after that, it was about my intelligence, that I hadn't kept up with a conversation about politics. Every time I brought it up afterward at home, she said the same thing. It was just jokes. I was taking it too seriously. I was too sensitive. After a while, I started doubting myself. Maybe I was too sensitive. Maybe this was just how adults joked with each other. But it ate away at me. I started noticing how tense I became before we were about to meet friends. I started wondering what she would say this time, which part of me she would turn into entertainment for others. I began leaving parties early because I couldn't stand listening to it. I made excuses, said I was tired or had a headache. Sally rolled her eyes at me, but usually let it go. When we got home later that evening, she said nothing about me leaving early. She didn't seem to care. After a while, I started avoiding social events entirely. When Sally asked if we should go to dinners or parties, I made up reasons not to go. I had too much work. I didn't feel great. I was tired. Sally went anyway, often alone, and I felt a strange mix of relief and shame. Relief that I didn't have to be humiliated, and shame that I was letting her control me like that. I talked to her about this repeatedly, but she brushed it off and minimized it. She said it was just jokes and that I should take it as humor. She said her friends thought I was funny and appreciated that I could take a joke. I tried to explain that it didn't feel like jokes when it was one-sided, when I was always the target. She rolled her eyes and said I was overthinking it. She showed no interest at all in how it made me feel. It was like talking to a wall. Her indifference hurt more than the jokes themselves sometimes. I started wondering if there was something wrong with me, if I really was as sensitive and pathetic as I was beginning to feel. I looked at other couples and saw how they joked with each other, and it seemed to work. But it was never one-sided the way it was with us. I never saw anyone else being consistently devalued the way Sally did to me. The last party we attended together started as usual. It was at one of Sally's colleagues' homes, a large gathering with maybe 20 people. I hadn't wanted to go, but Sally insisted, and I gave in because I didn't have the energy to argue. The first couple of hours were okay. Sally stuck to milder comments. Things about me not being able to match colors in my clothes or forgetting something she had asked me to remember. I nodded along and tried to smile as if it was funny. But then the usual belittling started, and it got worse and worse. She began talking about our sex life with a group of people in the kitchen. She said she had considered buying toys because I couldn't really deliver. People laughed uncomfortably, and someone tried to change the subject, but Sally continued. She said she sometimes pretended to finish just to get it over with. I felt the blood rush to my head. I just stood there, not knowing what to do. Part of me wanted to yell at her. Another part just wanted to disappear. I walked out into the living room instead and grabbed a beer from the fridge. I needed distance from her. But it got worse. Sally has a male friend named David. She had admitted to me that she had feelings for him a long time ago, before we met. She said it didn't mean anything anymore, but I had always felt uncomfortable when he was around. He was at the party, and she started flirting with him openly. She laughed too loudly at his jokes, touched his arm when she spoke, leaned in close. He seemed to flirt back, smiling in that way men do when they know a woman is interested. I stood on the other side of the room watching them. I felt like a ghost, as if I wasn't even there. Sally looked up and saw me watching her. Instead of stopping, she made it worse. She said to her friends standing around her and David that maybe she should get a stallion on the side and winked at David. Some of her friends laughed, but it sounded forced. Then she turned to me and asked if I minded. She asked loudly enough for people to hear. Her friends looked uncomfortable by then. One looked down into their glass, another mumbled something about needing to go to the bathroom. I felt something happen inside me. Something that had been cracking for a long time finally gave way. I said nothing. I put my beer down, grabbed my jacket, and left the party. Sally shouted something after me, but I didn't turn around. I walked home, furious. Not just angry, but enraged, hurt, and humiliated all at once. I felt that something had changed permanently. I decided that this was enough. I sat in the living room staring at the wall. I got a text from Marcus, who had also been at the party, asking how I was. Marcus and I had known each other for many years. We had worked together before. I told him I was done and that this was over. I wrote it without thinking, but as soon as I hit send, I knew it was true. Shortly afterward, Sally came home. I heard her unlock the door, and the first thing I noticed was how she moved. Careful, slow. She came into the living room looking hunted and asked what had happened, as if she didn't know. As if she hadn't just humiliated me in front of a room full of people. I yelled at her. I almost never yell, but I did then. I told her to pack her things and leave. She tried to calm me down, holding out her hands as if approaching a frightened animal. She said we could talk about it, that it wasn't that serious. That only made me angrier. Not that serious? She had just suggested having sex with another man while I stood there watching. I told her to pack again, but she didn't move. She just stood there staring at me with wide eyes. When it became clear she wasn't going to leave, I did. She tried to convince me to stay, said we could talk in the morning when I had calmed down. She even tried to stop me, standing in front of the door and saying I wasn't going anywhere. But I got past her easily. I am much bigger than she is, and she couldn't physically stop me. I heard her shouting after me as I went down the stairs, but I kept walking. I checked into a hotel, one of those chains that look the same everywhere. I booked a room for one night, but already knew it would be longer. Calls and texts from Sally poured in all evening and night. She asked where I was, if I was okay, if I could come home so we could talk. She said she was sorry, that she hadn't meant it. She said she loved me. I read the messages but didn't respond. I didn't know what to say. I fell asleep from exhaustion sometime after midnight. In the morning, I had over 100 missed messages from Sally and from some friends who had apparently found out what happened. I scrolled through them without reading properly. Most were from Sally, desperate messages saying she was sorry and that we needed to talk. Some were from friends asking if I was okay or offering to listen. I started thinking about what I was going to do. I sat on the hotel bed staring out the window at the parking lot below. I knew she wouldn't stop. I had talked to her about this so many times without anything changing. Every time I brought it up, she dismissed it, minimized it, turned it into me being the problem. And every time, I gave in and believed that maybe next time would be different. But last night showed me it never would be. She had escalated it to the point of openly flirting with another man and suggesting infidelity in front of me. And she had seen my reaction, seen that I was hurt and angry, and still tried to downplay it afterward as if I was overreacting. I called Marcus around 9 in the morning. He answered immediately and asked how I was. I said I didn't know. He told me that Sally hadn't cared at all that I left the party. She had continued putting me down after I left and had even kissed David. Marcus said the atmosphere had become extremely tense after that. People didn't know where to look. Someone tried to joke it away, but it only made things worse. Sally eventually noticed and stopped, but the damage was already done. Marcus told me he had gone up to Sally and told her he had spoken to me and that I had had enough. He said it was probably very important that she went home and talked to me. That was why she had looked so hunted when she came home. She knew she had gone too far this time. Marcus asked what I planned to do. I said I probably couldn't continue this anymore. It felt strange to say out loud, but also freeing. Marcus was quiet for a moment and then said he hadn't wanted to say anything before because I had seemed determined to stay in the relationship. But now that I was questioning it, he told me what he thought. He believed the relationship was dead, that she had no respect for me, and that if I didn't do something now, I would hate myself later. He said he had seen how I had changed over the past few years, how I had become quieter and more withdrawn. He said he missed the Jason he used to know. Hearing someone else say that hit hard. I had felt it myself but didn't want to admit it. That I had changed, that I wasn't myself anymore. Sally had systematically broken me down, and I had let it happen. I also started wondering if she despised me for being sterile, for not being able to give her children. We had talked about it when we met, that I couldn't have children. Sally had said it didn't matter, that she wasn't sure she wanted kids anyway. But maybe she had changed her mind. Maybe she looked down on me for it, and this was her way of expressing it, that I wasn't man enough because I couldn't give her that. It would explain why she always joked about my masculinity, about finding a stallion on the side. Maybe she was looking for someone who could give her what I couldn't. The thoughts kept circling in my head. I didn't know if it was true, but it felt plausible. And even if it wasn't the reason, it didn't change the fact that she treated me like garbage. Despite Sally bombing me with messages, I didn't respond. I needed time to think, and I knew that if I spoke to her, she would try to convince me to come home. She was good at that, good at making me doubt myself and believe I was making a big deal out of nothing. After 2 days, I called her and said we needed to talk. Her voice sounded hopeful when she answered, as if she thought I was calling to say I was coming home. I went back, feeling my stomach twist as I approached the house. I had been so certain at the hotel, but now, having to say it directly to her, I started doubting myself. But when I saw her again, the anger returned. She looked like she hadn't slept. Her eyes were red and swollen. Part of me felt sympathy, but I pushed it away. I had felt sympathy so many times before, and it had only kept me in a relationship that made me miserable. I told her what I had decided and why. I said I wanted a divorce. Sally broke down when I said it. She started crying for real, not just tears, but sobbing. She begged me to reconsider, said she could change and stop these games. She called them games, which they weren't. They were a way for her to diminish me and my feelings, which I told her. I said they were meant to break me down and destroy my confidence, that she had succeeded, but that I wouldn't let it continue. She cried and said she hadn't meant to hurt me, that she had just thought it was funny. I asked how it could be funny when only she laughed, when everyone else looked uncomfortable, and when I clearly didn't find it amusing. She had no answer. I asked what happened between her and David after I left. She said nothing had happened, but I knew that wasn't true. Marcus had told me they had kissed, so I asked again and again, hinting that I knew something without saying what. I said I had heard things and wanted to hear it from her. At first, Sally stuck to the claim that nothing happened. But the more I pressed, the more nervous she became. Eventually, she gave in. She admitted that she had taken him into one of the rooms and performed oral sex on him. I felt my stomach turn. It was worse than the kiss Marcus had told me about. By not saying exactly what I knew, she revealed something I didn't know. Nice. I asked if there had been other instances of cheating, but she denied it. She said it was the first time that she had been drunk and stupid, and that it would never happen again. I didn't ask anything more. It didn't matter. I was done. The infidelity was almost secondary by then. It was the long-term behavior, the systematic dismantling of me as a person that made it impossible to stay. Sally asked for therapy, but I refused. I said it was too late. She had had years to change, and I had asked her countless times to stop. She never listened. Now that there were consequences, she suddenly wanted to work on it. I started planning the divorce despite Sally's protests. I moved out permanently the day after our conversation. I packed my most important belongings while she stood there crying. She begged me to stay, but I said nothing. I knew that if I started talking, she would try to change my mind. I lived in a hotel for a few weeks while looking for an apartment. I put my things in a storage unit I rented. It felt strange to pack my life into boxes, but also freeing, like closing a chapter. I found an apartment about a week later, a small one-bedroom in another part of the city. I filed for divorce without her signature and hired a lawyer. Sally resisted the process as much as she could. She refused to sign, questioned everything, dragged it out as long as possible. I think she hoped I would change my mind if she could just buy more time. But I didn't. The divorce took almost a year to finalize. It was a hell of legal disputes and emotional breakdowns from Sally. She called and messaged constantly at first. She went from apologetic to angry to desperate. When she realized I wasn't coming back, she became cruel. She spread rumors about me to mutual friends, claimed I had been the one cheating, that I had treated her badly. Some believed her, but most of the people who were at the last party knew better. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but it was worth it. I am happier now. I laugh more. I didn't even realize I had stopped laughing until I started again. I've lost 15 kilograms and go to the gym 5 days a week. I play table tennis twice a week with some guys I met at the gym. I've stepped up at work and gotten a promotion. My energy level is much higher now that I'm mentally better. I hadn't realized how much of my energy went into just managing the relationship. I'm not dating yet. I haven't bounced back completely, but it's only a matter of time. I've discovered that I'm not without options, as several women have shown interest. It's a strange feeling after feeling worthless for so long, but I'm taking it slow. I want to be sure I'm whole again before bringing someone else into my life. If anyone reading this recognizes themselves in what I've been through, I just want to say one thing. You deserve respect. You deserve to be treated like you matter. And if the person you're with can't give you that, no matter how much they say they love you, it's time to leave. It will be hard and it will hurt. But on the other side, there is a life where you can breathe again.
If you liked this story, please subscribe and give us a thumbs up. It helps a lot, and you won't miss out on any future stories. Take care and live your best life.